Hey, you know what? I've had the pleasure of introducing a lot of great bands over the last, 10 years with the World Rock Countdown, discovering breakthrough artists. And this could be one of them from Vancouver, Canada. I say that because there are listeners from around the world, India, Australia, Argentina. You got to listen to these guys. They're called Two Shadows. I got Glenn here. How's it going, man?
It's going good, man. Thank you so much for having me on the show, George. Very much pleasure. I'm loving the coffee themed show this late in the evening. You're 3 hours ahead of me.
Yeah.
So we're past the coffees possibly, but
Yeah, it's
very
pretty
exciting.
cool because coffee brings everybody together. When have a sip of coffee, you sit down, whether you drink coffee or not. I know I'm going to say coffee 1,000 times now, but you meet
Oh,
someone,
I
you're
love it.
you're pretty much on their level, right? So you drink coffee, obviously. How do you take your coffee?
Black. How else? I've flip flopped. I mean, up in Canada, the iconic Tim Hortons double double played a role when I was in college. That was my fix. And then yeah, I don't know. I tried like more higher end coffees, dare I say, or like nice coffee. And I kind of, with a lot of stuff like that, I don't like to taint the flavor. I like it coming out as is. Also, I'm lactose intolerant, so that when that kind of came up, I switched off of the milk, and then I wasn't really gonna just put sugar in the coffee, so I just kind of adapted, and now I'm obsessed with black coffee. I can never put anything in my coffee now. Maybe I could do like an Irish coffee, maybe a little bit of that Bailey's or
Delicious, man.
something, but you know.
Well, they call it double double like the half hour squeeze, right? Like you pretty much have to wash them almost immediately, right? So
That's true. I haven't heard the half hour squeeze, but I definitely can. It is true from experience. It's definitely true.
I always like kind of like picture like somebody like like you get wet towels and you twist them. That's kind of like how your
So
body
the
would.
coffee does to your inner organs,
Yeah, man.
right?
And one of the things that really disgusted me was the actual fact of watching somebody make an iced coffee for me at Tim Hortons, and like when they first came out, they were just pouring like a heinous amount of cream in the coffee.
Yeah.
And I asked the lady, is this like mine? She's like, yeah. I'm like, I don't want that. I don't even
You're like,
want.
why did you do that?
Yeah, like that is the regular iced coffee. You go order an iced coffee, they'll just pollute it with that, and that's not cool, man. So
Mhm.
I take it black, whether it's iced coffee, nitro cold brew, whatever it is, man. It's the best way to do it. And I know there's places, especially out in BC, that only want you to drink it black, and they
Yeah.
look they frown upon you when you don't. So
True. Some coffee shops don't mess around.
yeah,
Definitely make sure you're briefed prior to going to these coffee shops because
yeah,
you don't want to be that guy. You asked for a little milk or a splash of whatever, and then you get the stares. It's not a
yeah.
good place to be.
You don't want somebody reaching over the counter with a paddle, and cracking your
Yeah.
ass. It's cool to have you guys on the show. I went through a few of your songs, and I think Emotionless in White is a cool comparison for people who want to get into you guys right now, because like it has that tinge of that feel, right? Of course,
Mhm.
you guys have been around since 2015, I believe.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a blurry kind of origin story, but it really kind of got going around 2015. I actually joined Two Shadows in 2018. But we kind of like did a big switch up. Like we were really kind of underground band, different sound, different people. And then in 2018, we sort of like figured out what we wanted to do and what we wanted to say and what we wanted to sound like and stuff. And sort of like, we switched it up and kind of that's when we, got our music like published in a record deal and kind of like, started with a clean slate just to not muddy the waters for our own like artistic satisfaction, I suppose. But yeah, you mentioned Motionless in White. That's like, they're kind of the kings in the genre right now. It's just they're very good. And yeah, that name gets thrown around a lot. A lot of the interviews that I've done, a lot of people mentioning Motionless in White, and they're rad. Their album, like their last few albums too, have been crazy. So it's like, you do this kind of like this genre, a lot of that darker themed kind of music. You throw on the eyeliner, it's like, let's go. It's a big kind of big community there. So it's cool. We didn't think or expect that we'd end up kind of lumped in that category. And like lo and behold, life's crazy, and here we are. So it's
Yeah,
it's very awesome.
you almost got to ask people what you sound like, like who do they relate you to? Because like then you
Yeah,
go out and market yourself properly. You're
that's
from
right.
Vancouver. How has the Vancouver, homestead played a feel in influencing your music and in your career?
Nice question. I mean, it's what influence does it hold constantly? I don't know, but it's had a big influence in the sense that my bandmate Trist, he grew up in a town called Fort St. John in northern BC, like northern BC. It's like 12 hours, like directly north of Vancouver, approximately, maybe even more. I can't remember. Should have asked him. He was just here, but he moved down to Vancouver to do bands and kind of try to turn it up to the next level. It's hard to stay in a small town when you're doing music. You kind of eventually need to go where like the industry is, and in Canada's kind of got like Vancouver and Toronto, like really. So yeah, he was there in Vancouver, and then when we started working together, I was in Calgary in Alberta, more in the interior. And then when we locked it, we had the plan was set. I threw all my crap in my car and then bailed down to Vancouver, and I've pretty much been there since. So the city has kind of been the place, like the Two Shadows, like melting pot, if you will. It's where everything kind of has come together, and it's where we met the guys in Rock Shop Records, our record label, and like the Union, of course, that we've done like a couple songs with. And I mean, everything's sort of happened for us here. Like we've made it down to the States, and it's been really awesome there as well. But I'd say the real foundation of us as a band all took place in Vancouver in some way or another. So it's yeah, kind of crazy. I never would have thought. I always wanted to move here one day when I was a kid. I grew up in Nanaimo, like across the Georgia Strait, and always seeing Vancouver, and I was like, oh, I want to move there someday. And then life's crazy, and all of a sudden here we are.
Hey, that's an amazing story. Vancouver always rainy, fairly
Very
expensive.
rainy.
Toronto is a big hot spot for music, especially around Canadian Music Week.
Oh
And
yeah.
also Montreal. Montreal is like the craziest metal band city I've ever like. Every band I've heard from out from there. Maybe
Oh,
just because like Instagram and MySpace is just showing me them back in the day. I
oh yeah.
freaking loved, man. One of my buddies plays in the band called Cryptopsy, and he's the vocalist of that band. And I give you a shout out, Matt. He's also the host of Vox and Hops, the metal
Nice.
podcast. Well, you know what? Every time I listen to a band, I have a band on the show. I have to go research them. And one of the things I do before I go look at a band, I go on YouTube, I find a live recording of them playing, and then I
Oh
justify
boy.
as to why, you know, I'm going to interview this band, right? And, it was pretty interesting seeing you guys play. Can you share a memorable moment from one of your live performances that maybe changed the way you guys look at yourselves?
Ooh, good question. Oh man, we've so many shows that we've played. It's been like our first time at all these cities, and it's so crazy. I think when you play a show in a city for the first time, like it's so unique, and like there's really nothing like it. And it's like there's so many things come to mind. I'm like, whoa, like overwhelmed trying to think of it. But one story I've been telling a bit, I guess, trying to think of some good examples now being asked. But well, the first time after we blew up on TikTok, we played a show, and that was the first time. This was in uh, Port, no, Salem, Oregon, in the States, and it was the first time that fans like sang the words back to us, like when during our show, and that was such a cool experience. I'll never forget that. Like we played a lot of shows, and we did a U.S. tour, and like nobody really knew who we were, and it was still a lot of fun. We made a lot of great friends, and it was the best time ever, honestly. And then after the winter, and we spent a bunch of time on social media, and then we had success in TikTok, we went back out, and that was like the craziest experience. And like specifically, this show is at the Infinity Room in Salem, Oregon, and we went back. We played another show there because it's just like we just love that place now, kind of from this memory. But it was just the energy in the crowd. Never it felt that before. I've been able to feel it since in other places, but just when you have so many people that are so stoked and they know the words and they're screaming and dancing around, moshing and stuff, like and just we're all feeling like the energy of like the songs that like me and Trist wrote. There was like that was insane. That's a standout moment for me. I mean, it will be forever. I'm excited to something to happen that's crazier than that. But currently, that's I'd say my number one. favorite thing on stage so far was that show. Just shocked me so much. I was like, no way.
I like that memory. You know why? Because it means you're on to something. Number two, it's a very emotional feeling, right? You have the adrenaline going through your body, and then people start singing your music back to you. I've had that happen with one of my bands in the past, and
Nice.
it was a surreal feeling, right? And
It's crazy, man.
it's a very emotional feeling, right?
Yeah, it's like a like almost a validation, not even a validation. It was just kind of like oh wow, like these people like really like they care enough to invest their own time and energy in like, the same stuff that's like my favorite thing in the world. Like this is like my biggest passion. They, really show they have that same passion, and it's like this kind of like relationship, friendship kind of like bond that is just it's so unique to music, I think. And I don't know, I just never like when I personally started doing music, I didn't necessarily expect that to happen. I kind of just love doing it, and like whatever, if people like it, cool. If they don't like it, cool. And it turns out they actually really like it, and that's just is the most flattering thing in the world.
Yeah, but also people are singing your lyrics back to you. They're actually, it's something is happening, right? Something
Yeah,
people are taking the time to listen to you.
that's it.
TikTok is a freaking monster, right?
It's crazy. What a platform, man. It's the Wild West. At least it has been for a long time. Maybe now it's kind of like it's changed. It's gotten a little bit more like organized, and people have tried
Yeah,
to make rules, and that's just the way it is. That's what happens. But
yeah.
it's been the Wild West of social media for a while, I think.
Well, for bands, for especially for me, it's hit and miss. But like, if I keep pushing and pushing, it starts to like really rev up the engine, and it's something that
Yeah.
we need because I don't think we've had anything like this since MySpace, where it's like you post a
Yeah.
video, people listen to your music, and then it gets passed on and on. Who are your
So
favorite
true.
influences? Your favorite bands to listen to growing up? And
Ooh.
what are some of your fondest memories of your first concert?
Oh, nice. Okay, well, my favorite band, yeah, it's funny. If you talk to Trist, he has such a different answers, but my favorite band ever is probably Opeth. Um, Not similar music style, but like the dark kind of like sinister atmosphere is a big inspiration for me. Like I love how they do it, and I kind of, I like to, be inspired by them in my own way. And then like another band that I really like a lot is 3 Days Grace. Some fellow Canadians. We played a show in Queensboro with a venue that they used to play a lot when they were starting up, which was rad. And
Wonderful.
they were also my first concert ever when I was I don't know, in grade seven, however old you are when you're in grade
Hmm.
seven. Out to traveled from Nanaimo, where I grew up, down to Victoria, BC, and saw that show. It was 3 Days Grace, The Used, and Default. So it was a killer lineup
Yeah,
back in like 2000. Maybe it was 2000. This was in 2007 actually, and it was, yeah, kind of like shocked me. It was just so cool. Seeing them and like being in that concert experience, it's sweaty, hot floor kind of thing, and yeah, they just rocked, and that band is just they nonstop bangers. They're so good, and I love that they're my first concert.
yeah.
And
I've seen them live too. I've seen them with Adam Gontier, like at the very, very like where when the Good Life came out, they had like a
that's the same tour, the Life Starts Now album tour that was in like 2007, right after 1X, just so when that album came out.
yeah,
But I've
yeah.
never seen them with Matt. I've never seen them with Matt.
Um, yeah, Matt, I saw him with My Darkest Days, and he was
Okay.
fantastic. I used to talk to him back in the day, and I think my band actually played a show with him with his band as well at some
Nice.
point. But um, even now, they still have some bangers, right? It's just like you can if you're a good songwriter and you're good musicians in the band, you can just bang out great songs, and they don't have to be
Oh yeah.
complicated and whatever like that. And I originally saw 3 Days Grace with Seether and a Econoline Crush.
Oh,
Like,
Savage.
yeah, it was like ridiculous. And it was just when I was going to college. And then the year before, I believe it was Alexis on Fire and the Cancer Bats or something like that. Like they would bring some pretty rad
Dude.
bands. Um,
Nice. That's
spent
funny. My guitarist on tour, we always we're getting ready for a show. Like the two of us, if we're DJing, we'll always throw on Seether. Just like,
yeah,
saying like either it's like the vocals too are kind of like low enough in my range that I can kind of just be like kind of hanging out and singing some Seether songs really badly, and it gets my voice kind of like, in the zone for a show. So
Yeah.
I always think of that now, and I think of Seether. I love that band though; they're so good.
One of the most underrated bands um, in the history of probably Canadian music is Evans Blue. I don't know if you ever heard of those guys before.
Evans Blue. I don't think I
Yeah,
have
yeah, man.
actually.
Uh,
Okay.
just unreal. Like they ended up changing up their vocalist for well, right now, but the original records were just holy crap, man. They would go and tour with like Breaking Benjamin, and like the one show that we played with them, they had like, and you're talking about a guy who grew up in a small town, like seeing these guys pull up in like a tour bus, like the monster like energy symbol on the side of the bus, and like dude, like it is like what you know, uh
That's sweet. I've have heard of that band name. It's more familiar. Like the more I think about it, they have at least like one super big hit song. I
yeah,
think I must have.
it's called Cold. um
Old.
uh,
I gotta look it up. I know this though. It's like it's so familiar.
yeah, but then they had like the new vocalists come in, and they had a song called This Time It's Different, and like stuff like that. He's good too, but I mean the
Yeah.
original singer with all those songs like Beg, and like they did like a Sarah McLaughlin cover, and like it was,
Oh, cool.
man, honestly, like I would check that out. The one album's
Yeah.
called Pursuit.
Pursued. Oh, I'm
Yeah,
so familiar. I
I'm
wish if I wasn't using my phone right now, I would have my phone out and I'd be like looking it up.
yeah, it's just like holy crap, like and you know what, so many great bands out there. Some bands like the Philosopher Kings, which I had to chase down, um you know, Gerald Eaton, you know, a few years ago, and get him on my show. The singer, one of the greatest singers of our generation, overlooked. Those guys, you know,
Savage.
went to produce like people like Kanon and all of that, and right. So like
Okay.
you guys can be the next big thing, man, out of Vancouver, and I really believe that.
Yeah, thank you. We're trying. That's
Yeah,
that'd be a dream come true. But you know, we will not be stopped. So I mean, hopefully it keeps going on this upward trajectory. But
yeah,
it's been we've been really spoiled the last bit for sure.
yeah. So Mad God, what a pretty killer name, you know, for a song, a pretty standout song. Let's talk about it, like the meaning behind it.
Yeah, man. So yeah, it kind of started off with this Phil Tippett movie that was done. It's crazy movie. Their studio, they make like monsters for movies. They've done like so many movies and special effects and stuff like that. But it was kind of a passion project, like no talking, just like puppets. It was super gnarly movie. It's like got this crazy like dystopian existentialism, apocalyptic nihilism thing going on, and it just had such a vibe. And I watched it with Trist, and we were like kind of working on music around the time, and we were just so inspired by the movie that we were just like let's see if we can like take this like vibe and this atmosphere, and then do a song kind of like based off that or inspired by it. And then it was the easiest song we've ever written. Like we both knew exactly like how it needed to be. He sent me an instrumental track. I sent him back this like the track with all the vocals on it, pretty much as you hear it in the final song. And it's just so cool. It's fun to make, and it's yeah our version. Like I tried to keep the same um like themes and like perspective that the movie did, but I kind of spun it in my own way and like talked about stuff that's more that I like know more about. I don't know a lot about movie monsters and things like that,
Mhm.
as you know, as opposed to more real life stuff that I usually sing about in songs. But yeah, I kind of put it in more of like an addiction lens. But the song itself is it's like about kind of like escapism and you know escaping from reality and how people will be it in like prescription medications or like you know addiction or even like you know video games and movies and stuff like everybody people who have it all want to like escape and like free their minds to not be you know centered in reality. And it's not even necessarily a bad thing, it's just this interesting phenomenon. And I kind of like instead of you know calling it out or making a statement about it, it's more of a observation kind of theme where it's sort of like, hey, look, isn't that interesting that that's going on? Like I like it's always been going on and it's still going on and it's maybe even going on more, and like that's isn't that something? And I'm it's very I don't know fun topic. I haven't tackled the themes like that in a song before, and it was a lot of fun because it was nice to not have to like make like a big statement about something. I just was able to kind of like, stream of consciousness kind of thing. And it was cool. And it was a vibe, and that's what the song is supposed to be. It was just a vibe, and we're really proud of how it turned out, and everyone's been stoked. So we're really happy with how the song has been received and all.
Yeah, it's definitely a banger and stuff like that. If you head on over to your Two Shadows Spotify page, you can check it out there. Also, the Boulevard of Broken Dreams, a cover of Green Day's song there. Let's talk about the decision to cover that song because it's bringing a lot of traffic to your page, and I've been noticing it as I've been kind of just watching and going back uh, to your Spotify page. The numbers are going up pretty drastically on that song. Um,
Yeah.
well done, man. Well done.
Thanks, man. It's that one was a surprise kind of. We didn't think it was gonna. I mean, so it's our second song to ever hit 1 million streams, which is so cool. And I don't know. I think we really spent a lot of time on it because when we first went into the studio working on that first album, it was like it was known that we had to do. There's got to be a cover song on there. That was part of the plan that we all talked about. We're like, we're gonna do it, and it was like, what song on earth are we gonna cover? And it was, that was it's a very defining release for us because no one had really heard what Two Shadows sounds like. So we needed to get like the right cover and then like do it the right way. We didn't want to just like play a song and release it in like our sound fonts. We thought that was like kind of lame.
Mhm.
I'm not a big fan of covers like that. And yeah, we tried a whole bunch of songs. There's a lot of ideas on the cutting room floor for this. And then I don't even I think Trist brought up doing Boulevard of Broken Dreams, and he is really funny because he did the first version of it, and it was like kind of had like a dubstep electronic flavor in it. It was really weird. And then me and our drummer at the time went in and we kind of reapproached it. We like took the tempo down and then did more of like a vibey, like piano-y sort of thing. And then we ended up putting both of the ideas together, and just got this weird sound. And it's like it doesn't even sound like Boulevard of Broken Dreams. Like there's so much going on, and it's so different. But that ended up being exactly what we wanted. And then honestly, all the pieces alone were so weird, and we were like, "Is this good? I don't know." And then finally, when we heard it all together, when it was like we laid it down in the studio and listened to it for the first time, we were like, "Wow, this is actually really cool." And
Yeah.
we're so
I'm
proud of
really
that
proud.
cover. And
You better be proud of it. Like it's,
oh,
if
thank you.
you're proud of it already, you better be proud of it if you're not, because it's fantastic. Not everybody does a cover and does it well, makes it their own. You got to make it your own. You can't play it the same way.
You
Um,
gotta.
so many people just phone it in, right? And this is not a phone in. This is a pretty good. This is uniquely yourselves, Two Shadows. Man, it's been
Yeah,
great.
thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of Meet Me for Coffee. You just heard Glenn from
Oh,
Two Shadows, awesome band from Vancouver. You want to say anything else, man, before we let you go?
oh goodness. Yeah, I guess stay tuned on the Two Shadows socials. We're all up in that Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Two Shadows official. And check out our Patreon. We're just starting to do Patreon, so all of our outtakes, behind the scenes clips from TikTok, and little studio moments. So it all gets dumped into Patreon. So if you want the deeper look, check that out, and stay tuned for some more music and some show dates coming up, because that's what we want to do this year. That's what we're working towards. So yeah, stay tuned, folks. And yeah, thanks so much for having me on the show, man.